I always thought my older brother was stronger than me in every way. He was the pride of the family, the one who knew exactly what he wanted from life, and I always walked in his shadow. But I never imagined that one day this shadow would become unbearable, that it would lead me to an abyss I could never escape. When he married, I watched her as something distant and unreachable. She wasn't just my brother's wife, she was the light of our home, the warmth I couldn't explain. Her smile always seemed forbidden to me. Her touch on my shoulder or a fleeting glance in the hallway made me freeze. I told myself it was just respect, just admiration. But the more time passed, the more I realized I was drowning. My brother was a strict man. He never showed emotions, spoke sharply, demanded obedience and respect. To him, family seemed more like duty than a sanctuary. And beside him, she appeared even more delicate, more vulnerable. I saw the fatigue in her eyes, how her smile would fade after his cold words. And in that moment, I wanted to be the one she could lean on, the warmth he couldn't give. It started innocently. I had returned home for a few months, and our encounters grew more frequent. Casual conversations in the kitchen while my brother worked late. Helping her with small tasks, handing her tea, carrying groceries, lifting something heavy. I found myself waiting for her presence, craving her voice, and it seemed she felt the same. Every glance between us became a silent confession, silence filled with something far greater than words. I remember the first time I realized I had crossed the line. We were alone in the living room. She was reading, and I sat by the window. Night had wrapped the house, and only the lamp's glow lit her face. She looked up and smiled, not for my brother, not for anyone else, only for me. I felt something break inside me, and I couldn't look away. Her eyes seemed to say, "I see you. Not his shadow, just you." That was the moment I understood my love was forbidden. But it had already been born inside me, and there was no stopping it. Days went on, and our silence grew louder than any words. I saw her tremble when our hands accidentally brushed, how her breath would catch when I entered the room. And at the same time, I saw her fight with herself, trying to stay faithful and proper. But can one resist what is inevitable? One evening, we were alone. My brother was working late. The house was wrapped in stillness, and the clock ticked, each second stretching into eternity. She stood by the kitchen table, arranging fruit in a bowl. Her fingers trembled, and I realized she felt the same as I did. I stepped closer, then closer still, until I stopped just a few inches away. I could feel the warmth of her body, the scent of her hair, the gentle breath escaping her lips. My hand touched hers. The touch was the most cautious in my life, yet it shattered the last barriers between us. She didn't pull away. She froze, but didn't resist. That night changed everything. We could no longer pretend. Every gaze, every accidental touch, every shared silence became a confession. I saw her come alive when I was near. I felt my heart tearing with desire. Then it happened what I had both feared and desired. The night was warm. She sat on the veranda in a light dress, moonlight draped her in silver. I approached and sat beside her. We didn't speak. Our hands found each other. Her fingers entwined with mine. And in that moment, I knew we had crossed the line. My lips brushed her hand, then her shoulder, and she didn't stop me. On the contrary, her breath deepened, and her body leaned closer. I felt a fire ignite inside me, one that could never be extinguished. That night became our secret. For the first time, I touched her as I had dreamed for years. Her skin burned beneath my hands, her breath mingled with mine. Her shivers answered every pulse of my desire. We belonged to each other in that moment, despite the sin, despite the pain, despite everything. Morning came, and reality returned like a cold storm. My brother returned home. I saw in her eyes both tenderness and guilt. She looked at me as if to say, I had no right, but I couldn't help it. I knew we had gone too far. There was no turning back. Days passed, and we continued living this double life. Outwardly a family, calm and normal. Inside a storm of emotions, burning passion, forbidden desire, an invisible prison. Every touch, every glance was a scream no one could hear, tearing us apart from within. We learned to hide our longing. I laughed in her presence, playing the role of the caring younger brother. She returned polite smiles, but her eyes never lied. We felt each other even when physically apart, and the pain of separation was unbearable. One night, we were in the silent living room. Moonlight poured through the windows, illuminating her face softly. I approached, and our hands met. It was no longer a casual touch. We remained silent, but every look spoke volumes. I live for you, and even if the world is against us, you are mine. Her fingers trembled as my palms enveloped her wrists. I ran my hand along her back, over her shoulders, feeling every part of her responding to me. Her breath deepened, chaotic yet rhythmic, driving my heart to beat faster than ever. We melted together, bodies and souls entwined, words unnecessary. But each morning brought the inevitable pain. My brother returned, and we had to play the part of an ordinary family. Every glance his way, every remark, pierced like a knife. We both knew our time was limited, and every stolen moment carried the weight of sin. Yet one day, I realized I could no longer live in the shadows. We stood on the veranda, holding hands, gazing at the night sky. I felt her warmth, her fear, and her determination. She whispered softly, "We deserve our happiness, even if the price is high." I looked into her eyes and understood, even if we live in secrecy, even if everything conspires against us, I am ready to fight for us. We couldn't have simple happiness, but this tiny spark of hope ours. And even if the world divides us, we will carry it in our hearts forever. We kissed quietly, tenderly, yet with the full force of years of suppressed passion. And though we knew tomorrow might destroy everything, we felt we had finally found each other. This story isn't about victory or peace. It's about love that blooms where it shouldn't, about pain and longing, about forbidden desires becoming light. And even in the tragedy of the ending, in the impossibility of being together, a tiny hope remains. Hearts that have found each other never forget. Because sometimes love isn't